Hello, dear students. Welcome to another session of Human Resource Management. In this session, we will be discussing about compensation management. Compensation of employees for their service is most important responsibility of Human Resource Department. Every organization must offer good wages and fringe benefits to attract and retain talented employees with the organization. If at any time the wages offered by a firm are not competitive as compared to other firms, the efficient workers may leave the firm. Therefore, workers must be remunerated adequately for their services. Compensation to workers will vary depending upon the nature of the job, the skills required, the risk involved, the nature of working conditions, the paying capacity of the employer, the bargaining power of the trade union, wages and benefits offered by the other units in the region or the industry. Considering that the current trend in many sectors is to treat the employees as creator and drivers of value rather than one more factor of production. Now let us study some definitions of compensation management. According to Gary Dassler, human resource in his book of human resource management, he mentioned employee compensation as to all forms of pay going to employees and arising from their employment. Now here the phrase all forms of pay is the definition does not include non-financial benefits but all the direct and indirect financial compensations. This we will be discussing later, what are direct and indirect financial compensations. Another definition by Thomas J. Bergman, compensation consists of four distinct components, that is wages or salary plus employee benefit plus non-recurring financial rewards plus non-pecuniary rewards. The next, the concept of compensation. Now, compensation refers to a wide range of financial and non-financial rewards to employees for their services rendered to the organization. It is paid in the form of wages, salaries, and employee benefits such as paid vacations, insurance, maternity leaves, free travel facilities, retirement, etc. Monetary payments are a direct form of compensation that employees have a great impact in motivating them. Now, the system of compensation should be so designed that it achieves the following objectives, that is, the basic concept of compensation. The concept includes the capable employees are attracted towards the organization, the employees are motivated for better performance as they are paid according to the task, according to the work they are doing. The employee do not leave the employer frequently because he is satisfied by the amount of compensation being given to him. Now the next is the components of compensation. The components of compensation are based on the following things. The basic component of compensation is the basic wage or salary. Now, wage or salary refers to the each component of the wage structure based on which other elements of compensation may be structured. It is normally a fixed amount which is subject to change based on annual increment or subject to periodic pay hikes. Wages represent hourly rate of pay and salary refers to monthly rate of pay, irrespective of the number of hours put in by the employee. Wages and salary are subject to the annual increments. They differ from employee to employee and depend upon the nature of job the person or the employee is doing. The next is dearness allowance. The payment of dearness allowance facilities employees and workers to face the price increase or inflation of price of goods and services consumed by him. The increasing price reduce the compensation to nothing and the money's worth is coming down based on the level of inflation. The payment of dearness allowance, which may be a fixed percent on the basic wage, enable the employers to face the increasing price. Therefore, this helps in satisfying the employer by getting whatever is being paid by the employer. Incentives. Incentives are paid in addition to wage and salaries and are also called as payment by results. Now incentive depends upon the productivity, sales, profit or cost reduction efforts. Incentives, as I always told, is based on individual performance. Therefore, incentive can be divided into two parts, that is individual incentive scheme and group incentive programs. Now, individual incentives are capable to specific employee performance, whereas a given task demands group effort for completion. Incentives are paid to the group as a whole. Now, what is bonus? Bonus is another important component of compensation which can be paid in different ways. It can be a fixed percent on the basic wage paid annually or in proportion to the profitability. The government also prescribes a minimum statutory bonus for all employees and workers. There is also a bonus plan which compensates the manager and employees based on the sales revenue or profit margin achieved. Next is the non-monetary benefits. These benefits give psychological satisfaction to employees even when financial benefits is not available. Now what non-monetary benefits include, like recognition, like promotion, like comfortable working conditions, and job sharing, flexible timing, whatever which is not in terms of monetary is non-monetary benefits. Then comes commission. Now, commission to managers and employee may be based on the sales revenue or profit of the company. It is always a fixed percentage on the target achieved. The payment of commission as a component of commission is practiced heavily on target based sales, depending upon the target achieved. Companies may pay a commission on a monthly or a periodic basis. Next is fixed plans. Companies may also pay employees and others a combination of pay as well as commission. This plan is called combination or mixed plan. Apart from the salaries paid, the employees may be eligible for a fixed percentage of commission upon achievement of fixed target of sale or profit or performance objectives. Next is piece rate wages. As the name says, piece rate wages are the most prevalent in the manufacturing wages. The laborers are paid wages for each of the quantity being produced by them. The fairness of compensation is totally based on the productivity and not by any other qualitative factors. And next is the fringe benefits. Fringe benefits may be defined as a wide range of benefits and services that employees receive as an integral part of their total compensation package. They are based on critical job factors and performance. Fringe benefit constitutes indirect compensation as they are usually extended as a condition of employment and not directly related to performance of concerned employee. Now these fringe benefits include paid vacations, pensions, health and insurance plans, etc. Next is profit sharing. Profit sharing is regarded as a stepping stone to industrial democracy. Profit sharing is an agreement by which employees receive a share fixed in advance of the profit. Profit sharing usually involves the determination of an organization's profit at the end of the fiscal year and the distribution of percentage of the profit to the workers qualified to share in the earnings. The percentage to be shared by the workers is often predetermined at the beginning of the work period and is often communicated to the workers so that they can have some knowledge of their potential gains. The next, this was all about components of compensation. The next is the type of compensation. Now the total compensation returns are based on two criteria, that is direct compensation and indirect compensation. This direct compensation refers to monetary benefits offered and provided to employees in return of the services they provide to the organization. The monetary benefits includes basic salary, house rent allowance, conveyance, leave travel allowance, medical reimbursement, special allowance, bonus, gratuity, etc. We can discuss some in short also. The basic salary, as we all know, is the amount received by the employee for the work he has done after a fixed period, say a week or a month. It is the money an employer receives from employer by rendering the service. Next is house rent allowance. An organization either provides accommodation to its employees who are from different states, or this is done to provide them social security and motivate them to work. Convince organization provides for cab facilities to their employees. Few organizations also provide vehicles and petrol allowance to their employees to motivate them. Next is the leave travel allowance. These allowances are provided to retain the best talent in the organization. The employees are given allowance to visit any place they wish with their families. Medical reimbursement. Organization also look after the health conditions of the employee, and they provide mediclaims for them so that they feel secured, and their treatment is, whatever their treatment bills are reimbursed. Bonus, as I have already discussed, it is paid to the employees during festive season to motivate them and provide them the social security. And special allowance such as overtime, mobile allowance, meals, commissions, travel expenses, reduced interest loan, many other, which provides the social security and motivate the employees to improve their organizational productivity. This was all about direct compensation, which was given in directly to the employees. Now the next is indirect compensation. Now, indirect compensation refers to non-monetary benefits offered and provided to employees for the services they are being given to the organization. Now, these also includes many compensations like leave policy, overtime policy, car policy, hospitalization, insurance, leave travel, retirement benefits, holiday home, etc. We will be discussing some in detail here. The leave policy. It is the right of the employee to get adequate number of leaves while working with the organization. The organization provides for paid leaves such as casual leaves, medical leaves or sick leaves, maternity leaves, etc. Overtime policy. In this, the employer should be provided with the adequate allowance and facilities during their overtime. If they happen to do so, such as like transportation facility, overtime pay, etc. Now, hospitalization. The employer should be provided allowance to get their regular checkups, say at an interval of 1 year or after 6 months. Insurance. Organization also provides for accidental insurance and life insurance for the employees. This gives them the emotional security and they feel themselves valued in the organization. Leave travel. The employees are provided with leaves and travel allowance to go for holidays with their families. Some organizations even are also given a tour for their family from the side of the organization. This is generally done when the employees are overstressed or to make them recreate. Retirement benefits. Organizations provide for pension plans and other benefits for the employees, which benefits them after they retire from the organization at a prescribed age. Holiday homes, as we all know, also known as guest houses for the employees at different locations. These holiday homes are usually located in hill stations and they are most wanted holiday spots. These organizations make sure that the employees do not face any kind of difficulties during their stay in the guest house. Flexible timing, as we all know, are given to the employees who cannot come to work during normal shifts due to many of the personal reasons. This was all about direct and indirect compensation. As we know, direct compensation is directly given in terms of monetary benefits, whereas indirect compensation are given in non-monetary benefits. Now, what are the factors which are considered while deciding the compensation? Employers decide on what is the right compensation after taking into account the following points, like the job description of the employee that specifies how much should be paid and the part of the compensation package. Even the job discrimination, job evaluation, and there are many factors based on which the employer finds the net worth of the employee based on comparison with the appropriate compensation levels for comparable job across the industry or within the organization. Other factors like experience, qualification, expertise, and need of the company also helps in determining how much the employer is willing to pay to the employee. Now, these factors can be divided into two parts: external factors and internal factors. External factors, as we know, are beyond the control of the organization, and this is from the external environment of the organization. And internal factors are those factors which are in control and which needs to be done for motivation and getting the satisfaction of the employees. We will be discussing some of them here. Like external factors is demand and supply of labor, cost of living, labor union, government, prevailing wage rates. We will be discussing in short here some of them like demand and supply. Now, as we say, wage is a price or compensation for the services rendered by the worker. Now, the firm requires these services and it must pay a price that will bring forth the supply, which is controlled by the individual worker or by a group of workers. Individual or group of workers acting through their union. Therefore, according to the demand and supply of the labor, the compensation will be determined. Cost of living, it is another important factor which affect the wage in the cost of living adjustment of the wages. This tends to vary depending upon the variations in the cost of living index, like rise or fall in the general price level and consumer price index. Labor union, organized labor is able to ensure better wages than an unorganized one. Higher wages may have to be paid by the firm to its workers under the pressure of trade union. Now, the government also defines certain policies, certain laws, like for example, law of minimum wages, hours of work, equal pay for equal work, payment of dearness and other allowance, payment of bonus, etc. Now, all these things has to be considered by the employer while defining the amount of compensation to be given, and this is not in control of the organization. Prevailing wage rates, as I have discussed earlier about the labor unions and the government. Now, wages also in a firm are influenced by the general wage level or the wages paid for similar occupation in the industry, which will help to define how much the employer has to pay. Now, the internal factors. As I told earlier, internal factors are in control of the employer, and on the basis of these factors, he will define the exact compensation. The first and foremost is the ability to pay. The employer's ability to pay is an important factor affecting wages, not only for the individual firm but also for the entire industry. This depends upon the financial position and profitability of the firm, and thus, on the basis of this, they will define their compensation. Top management philosophy. Every top level executives have different philosophy, and based on their philosophy, whether they are productivity based, whether they are humanitarian, or whatever their thought processes, this will help in defining their amount of compensation which they will be giving to their employees. The next is productivity of workers. To achieve the best results from the workers and to motivate them to increase their efficiency, wages have to be productivity based. There has been a trend towards gearing wage increase to productivity increase. Productivity is the key factor in the operation of a company. High wages and low cost are possible only when productivity increases. Now, job requirement. The most important factor which I think should help in defining the compensation of an employer should be based on the job requirement. That is an indication or a measure of job difficulty, providing a basis for determining the relative value of one job against another in an enterprise. The job may be graded in terms of relative degree of skill, effort, and responsibility, and the working conditions. Now, there are different occupational wages in terms of the hardship, difficulty of learning the job, stability of employment, responsibility of learning the job, changes for success or failure in the work. Now, these all factors helps in defining the compensation. Now, the next is the objectives of compensation management. Why we are defining or why we have a set standard of compensation decision. The basic objective is first to establish a fair and equitable remuneration. Effective compensation management are to maintain internal and external equity, because this will help equal pay, and an equal means similar pay for similar work. In other words, the compensation differentiates between jobs should be in the proportion of differences in the worth of the job. Next, to attract competent personnel, A sound wage and salary administration helps to attract qualified and hard-working people by ensuring an adequate payment for all the jobs. To retain the present employees, as we are discussing since start, that if we are giving fair amount of compensation, that is according to the job requirement, according to the task, according to the work environment, if an employee is given compensation, he will never leave the organization and he will be retained in the organization. Therefore, the basic objective to define compensation management is to retain the present employees. And when the employees are satisfied according on the basis of compensation, they will never leave the organization and they will retain. To improve productivity, as we all know, compensation is a source of motivating and increasing the morale of the employees, which in turn leads to high productivity. To control cost. Now, through sound compensation management, administration and labor cost can be kept in line with the ability of the company to pay. If facilities, administration and control of payroll, the companies can systematically plan and control labor cost. Now the next is to improve union management relationship, as we have discussed in our earlier lectures about collective bargaining. Collective bargaining, representation of union, if the union is satisfied, then there is a fair and a good relation between the management and the union, which leads to a good and a healthy environment. To improve public image of the company, obvious, when wage and salary programs also seeks to project the image of progressive employer and to company with legal requirements relating to wage and salaries. And most important, to improve job satisfaction. If employee would be happy with their jobs and would love to work for the company, they will be getting rewards in exchange for their services. They will be satisfied and work more effectively. And the last and not the least, to motivate employees. Motivation or through compensation is an important factor. Every employee is motivated through compensation because the fair amount which he or she is getting out of the work he is giving will motivate to work more. And rewards and recognition in terms of indirect compensation is another source of increasing the morale of the employees. That's all for this session. Thank you. We'll be continuing further.